Hi, everyone. In today's episode, I want to talk about the question: are you actually talented enough to be a writer? And so, this is an attempt for me to break the myths, the bust the myths, and the excuses for writing and all that. So, the question is: what does it mean to be talented? Yeah, what does it mean to be talented? Yeah, what does it mean to be talented? To be talented simply means, and it says that you just have this innate skill to do this thing. Like you didn't need to have any special training, any special learning, or any of the stuff. You're just pretty good at it without anything, and you're just good. Now, there are a few persons who have the skills, but the fact that you're asking this question means that you're not that person. And I want to tell you that a lot of writers that didn't have that skill, and with training and education, they were able to write. Now, by the end of this episode, you will understand why talent isn't the be all and end all of writing success. And we'll look at other things that make up writing and all that. Now we know a lot of writers like Stephen King. His first novel, Carrie, it was rejected a number of times before it was published. And then we also have Harry Potter from J.K. Rowling. It was rejected a lot of times before it was published. And there are other writers who were rejected before their work was eventually published. Now the question at that point in time is, if your work is being rejected, it means two things. Yeah, two things, if we're being honest. First, it means that the work is complete garbage. You're not good. Your writing sucks. Like you don't even have anything that you could probably write about, you know. The second thing is your work is not good for them. It doesn't mean that it's not good. It means that it's not good for them. So what do I mean? If you, for example, a magazine that or a publishing press that the editors, all they know, understand, all they've ever read is romance works, works about love and all that and all those things, and then you write a dystopian story without probably any love in it or any of the stuff, and you give the work to them, an absolute masterpiece, and they're like, oh, no, this thing's garbage. It's not that it's garbage, it's just that it's not right for them. And you might say, oh, my work is garbage, I cannot really become a writer, I'm not really good enough, I don't really have any hope to become a writer. No. So the thing is, if talent, if I'm not talented enough, what then can I do? It means I can do the work. Because if I say that I am not talented enough, what that means is that it is not within my power to become a writer. Now, the reason why most of us say that we're not talented enough is oftentimes we seek to become great writers, we seek to become master writers, which is a very good thing. But the thing is that before you become a master or a good writer, you have to first be a writer. And being a writer is something that anyone can be. Like in the word literally writing, it's something that you can just write, just sit down and write. Like if you're literate enough, you can sit down and write something. But then you have to be a writer before you can start putting all the adjectives of being a great writer, a terrible writer, a good writer, an awesome writer, a young writer, whatever. You have to first start writing before the adjectives can come into place. What would be the adjectives without the noun? The noun is the writer, and the writer writes. Now, writing is a skill that can be learned and improved over time. And by over time, we mean that you're practicing over those time. It's not like you start today that I want to write, and then you wait for 10 years, and all of a sudden you become a good writer or a great writer. No, over that period of time, you will be practicing. Over that period of time, you'll be writing. Over that period of time, you would be giving your all. You'll be putting your best into it. Over that period of time, you would be showing up consistently. Over that period of time, you write a lot of work that even doesn't amount to anything, yet you work on them because you know that over time you will get good, and each piece of work you work on is a puzzle that gets you to being good. It's a journey that gets you to become a master of the craft. Now, most of us were like, I don't really have this stuff. I don't really have them. Now, one of the things we'll notice is that many of the successful authors started with no formal training. Now, does that mean that you should probably not take a creative writing course or stuff like that? If you have it, if you can afford it, you can go ahead and take it. But just know that most of them didn't have the formal training. Now, what did they do? They read a lot and they wrote a lot. They read a lot and they wrote a lot. They read a lot and they wrote a lot. And so by reading, they were able to immerse themselves in the craft and they started writing and they would work on things and they say, oh no. The thing is this, once you start reading and you develop a habit of reading, what would happen to you is that you would develop your taste of good fiction, of good story. You just innately have the taste. Now, writing itself is a thing of courage, so you have to plunge yourself out there. Not everybody that reads writes, and not everybody has to write, but it's a thing of courage of showing up that, oh, I want to write my own story too. But over the times, because you have been reading the stories, you develop what we call taste. So when you're writing like, this thing is absolute garbage. Oh no, I have to put it this way. It's just there, and you're just writing and just writing and just writing. And that's why most an author would say that To become a writer, you have to read a lot. And most people, you start asking the question, do I need to read? What if I don't like to read? And I'm like, dude, how is that even possible? How is it possible? Like, you were writing this work and you don't like to read. I'm like, I still cannot connect the ideas. Probably someone has to explain that to me for me to understand. Now, persistence and practice often matter more than raw talent. We have to keep writing. We have to keep showing up consistently in order to hone our skills, hone our craft, and in order to get better at what we do. Over time, when I've been writing so far, I've noticed that from 5 years, 3 years, all of my journals, my works, the things I had written then, when I look at them, I'm like, dude, how come you wrote this stuff? At that point in time, it was brilliant. It was a masterpiece. But I'm like, what happened to you? Now, it's not because the age went by, that's why I got better. No, it was because I kept practicing. And so over time, my taste developed and I got really good at seeing and noticing crap. And now it's not like I'm the best of the best, but I have become, you know how you move from worst to worse and then you move to bad, even though you're still like you're not yet good, yet you've improved so much that it's a welcome development. Like the guy was worst, now he's worse. Now, no, he's a bad writer now. He's not the worst writer. You've made progress. Now, eventually, you become a good writer, and then you become a better writer, and then a great writer. Over time. But you have to progress, and most of us we don't want that messy period of writing where we do not even know what we are doing, where we've not have it figured out, where we have no clue what we are doing. We don't want that period. We just want to move and become eventually writing everything brilliant and awesome. And I don't really think that's the case. Yeah. So the question is, how can we overcome self-doubt and develop our writing skills? Because when we say we're not talented enough, what that means is that any other thing that we do, it doesn't really matter. We will not amount to anything. It doesn't really matter what we're doing. You're not good enough. It doesn't really matter. So the question is, first of all, we need to know that we need to believe that with training and practice, we would improve. We need to believe that. Now, we don't know how long it will take, but we know that with training and practice, we would improve. And that's one of the sweet things I love about writing. If you start today now, start writing over months, over the years, what you notice is that if you take each piece of work from each of the year and you start reading some piece of work, you will notice that these works are just different. It is not just because they are different subject matter, but because you just notice that my writing changed. Like, it changed, dude. It changed. It's like I became a master writer, but you just notice that, dude, this is different, man. And if you give it to other persons too, they'll notice. So the question is, write regularly, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. We want to practice, we want to write, we want to show up, we want to writing is a muscle, it's a skill. It's not like some of those skills where you have to learn or cram a lot of things. Something you start to practice, and when you're there, you're writing, you don't even know what to do. You figure it out. And that's the skill. So you do that by practicing and writing and showing up consistently. The next thing is we want to read widely in and outside our preferred genre of writing. So probably you are a horror writer or a fantasy writer. You want to read other genres too. Just read other genres, see other works, see what's happening. So just read widely, consume stuff, read, become a reader, read a lot. And one of those things is that it will build your taste. Yeah, to build your taste. And you could also read bad writing. And I think there was a writer who once said that I read bad writing in order to know, in order to give me know what not to do when I write, Yeah. And then the next thing is to join a writing group or workshop for feedback and support. Now, a writing group, if you can have an in-person writing group where people can come around, write, read your works, give feedback to each one, what am I able to say to one another? That would be great. To each other, yeah. That would be great. That would be awesome. Like, remarkable. But then you see these groups online where like you join the groups, but most of the time you see like 10,000 persons. Like, the group is not really the group per se. You don't really get that hands-on feedback. While there are paid and premium memberships you could probably join, I don't really know about that. I've not joined any of those, so I can't really say if it's worth it or not. But you can check around. And one of the things you could do is you could join workshops, and a lot of free workshops online. You could people just gather around, you write together, and different persons read what they've written and what what they were able to come up with, and you give feedback on the different works, and that way you're able to see different perspective on your work. And the fun thing is that it's easier to give advice to other people's work than yours, because there's this emotional attachment when it's your work. So when you see other people's own, your eyes are open, you're like, oh, this stuff, you'd have done this, you'd have done this. And then when they see your work too, they're like, oh, this, you're, oh, wow, that's true, I didn't see that, how come I never noticed that? And that way you're able to take the advice and then improve and work on other stuff. And one of the ways for feedback, and that's probably something I'm going to experiment with, is you can send your works to editors of magazines and all that, and some of them you have to pay couple of fees. Some of them they're free. So what it simply means is that they will give you feedback on your work, and it's like from actual editors, and they'll tell you that this is your work, this is what happens, this is what happened, and then that way you'll be able to look at the feedback from your work and say, okay, this, okay, am I improving? Because the funny thing is that let's not have the mindset that we'll practice over 10 years and we improve. No, we have to do an intentional practice where we are getting feedback and we're using those feedback to improve. Else, we are just going to be writing, and over 10 years, we'll still be asking ourselves, what am I writing? I still not improved. You want, because that's the thing, it has to be, you see, we write a lot so we can get a lot of volume, a lot of feedback to improve. So we're not just writing because, okay, if I keep writing, say if I keep writing, I will improve. No, of course, it's bound to happen, but you want to be intentional such that you don't just leave it to chance that, oh, if I keep doing it. No, you want to be intentional. So you get feedback. People tell you, oh, this work, you improve. This is how you can, you tell a lot in your story. You should show. This is how you show. You try. You work on that. Your dialogue is really clumsy. You work on that. And over time, you get really good at it because you've gotten this feedback from people that have been there ahead of you in writing, and and those too in your peers from readers and all that. And where you're able to rewrite and work on your story to make it really, really good. And over time, you get better. That's the whole idea. We don't want to leave it to fate, and we don't want to leave it to chance. We want to be intentional about the practice because it's important to us. So we need feedback from it, so in order to get better. So you could take writing courses online from top persons. You could also read craft books from some writers, and you could also attend workshops and all that to hone your skills. A lot of events are online. I don't know if I would be starting a workshop yet, but I'm thinking about that, and yeah, probably after the podcast or that, I'll see what I can put in place so we can start a workshop. A couple of persons come around and we just write. So if you're interested in such a thing, join the newsletter, because anything I do or will be doing, I'll be updating the newsletter and letting the subscribers know what is coming up. So join the newsletter. You could go to buildwriting.com/newsletter or check the link in the description. Okay, now so Octavia Butler once said, you don't start out writing good stuff. You start out writing crap and thinking it's good stuff. And then gradually you get better at it. I said earlier on that you don't start writing good stuff. You start writing worst writing, absolute garbage. And then you move from worst to worse, and then from worse to bad, and then from bad to good writing. It's more like when you when it's newly installed, the first set of water that comes out of it is very dirty water. They have to allow the water to flow, come outside. They dispose that water, and over time, as the water keeps flowing and keeps flowing and keeps flowing, it gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. But the thing is that most of us, we don't want to let out that first set of water come out. We just we want to get clean water, but we don't want to pump out that stuff out. We don't want to pour the water everywhere. We want the clean water without having to allow the water run out that we don't need. You understand? So we need to write, we need to work on the skills so that we can improve and get really good at it. So now for today, what is your writing challenge? Your writing challenge for today is to write a short story or poem in exactly 100 words. Don't worry about making it perfect. The goal is simply to create. Now it's 100 words. It's not a lot. It's just 100 words. Now you can share your 100-word creation on our community. You can share your 100-word story on Twitter, just with the hashtag 100-word writer, and yeah, and you can tag me at buildwriting on Twitter. Yeah, probably Twitter, or you can just send it to me at just let me know. That's why if you join the newsletter, you can always respond and reply, and your response will come directly to my mail. I know social media is important and all that, but for me, like, newsletter is like the primary source of communication for me. Yeah. So you go to mechi@buildwriting.com and you'll be able to send me a mail. Or you could also do is you could join the newsletter, and that way you'll be able to respond and reply. Whatever you'll be able to work on, you'll be able to let me know. And so back to, let's not forget that every writer starts somewhere. Your unique voice and perspective are valuable, and with practice, your skills will grow. With practice, intentional practice, not just any kind of practice. Now, I want to beckon on you. If you found this episode encouraging, I want you to share it with a friend who might need it, a confident boost in their writing journey. And I want you to join us tomorrow, because we'll be discussing whether waiting for inspiration is killing your writing career. You don't want to miss it. And I've been your host, Yemichi Nwakonam, and you've been listening to the Build Writing Podcast. Until next time, keep writing.